Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam Paramanandamadhavam. Shall we read the verses that we completed yesterday and then we will move forward? We'll read together. Sthulo mamsamayo dehaha sukshmasyadvasanamayah jnana karmendriyai sardham shariragau ajnanam karanam sakshi bodhastesham vibhasakaha bodhabhaso buddhigataha karta syat punyapapayoh vasamsare karma vash alokadvaye sada bodhabhasat shuddha bodham vivichyat atiyatnataha jagaraswapnayoreva bodhabhasavidambana suptau tu tallaye shuddha bodho jadyam prakashayet. So directly Adi Sankaracharya goes into the topic by first showing the upadhis. Stula upadhi, which is the deha, sukshma upadhi, which is the mind and the other limbs of the subtle body, mind, intellect, pancha jnanindriya, pancha karmendriya, pancha prana, and then goes on to mention the karana sharira, ajnana. And the purpose of mentioning this prakriya of stula, sukshma, karana is to bring to our attention the self, which is sakshi, which is bodhaswarupa, which illumines the stula, sukshma and karana sharira, vibhasakaha. So once the self is indicated, the present comprehension of the self is brought to our attention. The present comprehension that we have about the self is brought to our attention. What is that? That is what is the bodhabhasa. The self is bodha But the present understanding of ourself, the jiva, is not actually bodha, is not the true consciousness, but that is only bodhabhasa. Why do you say it is bodhabhasa? Bodha, knowledge, consciousness, abhasa, appearance. Why do you say that? We say that it is bodhabhasa because it is something which appears at the level of the buddhi, level of the upadhi. It's not the truth because it is a slipped consciousness. It is consciousness which is appearing. It is you who are appearing at the level of the buddhi. Buddhigataha. That is how he explains. And then he says this buddhigataha identifies itself with the stula, sukshma and karana sharira and becomes a karta. Because when the body performs, when the senses function, once it identifies with them, then it becomes a performer. It becomes the doer. So it becomes a karta. And once it becomes a karta, then based on the karma which it does, naturally it has to enjoy also. Then it becomes bhokta. This karta bhokta is what is called as samsara. Samsaret. Why do we say karta bhokta is samsara? Once you perform actions, then you have to remain to receive the results of it. So you have to remain means what? You have to take an appropriate embodiment to experience the results of those actions. And taking appropriate embodiments also means taking the right abodes where the enjoyments are possible. And therefore one transmigrates in the lokadvaya. What is lokadvaya? Lokadvaya is here and the hereafter. So this way the karta bhokta was brought to our attention. Now after that Sankaracharya ji says, look, here you have a notional self and then you have the true self. Now we are taking the notional self to be the actual self, whereas the true self is free of all these problems of karta, bhokta and samsara. And therefore, since these two selves are there, in order to save ourselves from the samsara, all that we have to know is that we are not this false self, but we are the true self. Now, when two things appear in the same way as self, when two things are looking similar, if we want to understand them in their true nature, what we have to do is we have to differentiate them. And how do we differentiate them? To differentiate them, he says, let's see for ourselves how the self and the false self are appearing in our experiences. Our experiences are threefold: waking, dream and deep sleep. Now, he says first, you will find this false self active in two states, waking and dream state. You will find it masquerading as the self. You will find it there. But when you go to deep sleep, you will find this false self is not there. In deep sleep, what happens? In deep sleep, the buddhi is not there. The reflecting medium is not there. And when the reflecting medium is not there, the reflected self also cannot be there. And this reflected self is what you are taking today as I. You see, this I is not there in deep sleep. This I is not there, but you are there. Which means what? This reflected self cannot be you. Because you exist even when the reflected self, even when the false self is absent. In deep sleep, you will find this pure self, this bodha, even though bodha bhasa is gone, because buddhi is gone, you will find this bodha still available, illumining the ajnana, the karana sharira of the deep sleep. And therefore, please understand, your nature cannot be bodha bhasa, but you should be only bodha, the pure consciousness. Now one may wonder that this bodha, pure consciousness, is only experienced in deep sleep. That also cannot be the... See, self is that which is always, because we are always there. What is not there always cannot be the self. In deep sleep we have shown the reflected consciousness is not there, but still I am there. Therefore reflected consciousness is not the self. But suppose if one were to say that the pure self is experienced and is there only in deep sleep and not in the waking and the dream, what would happen? The pure self also cannot be the actual self, because self is that which is there always. Because that is the experience I have of myself being always. Am I communicating? And therefore, he now brings to our attention, you do experience the pure self even in the waking state. Now that is verse number 5. That's where we are now. Let's go to verse 5. Jagarepi diyastushnim bhavashuddhena bhasyate dhivyaparascha tadbhasyaha chidabhasena samyutaha jagare So how do you become aware of the pure consciousness, bodha? How do you do that? In waking state. He says, jagare api. Also in jagara, also in jagrada avastha, the waking state. Why also? Because in deep sleep we are able to experience the Shuddha Bodha. We are able to experience the Shuddha Bodha because it is the illuminator of Ajnana. And therefore we are able to cognize that pure consciousness in deep sleep state. But what about the waking state? Jagare api, even in waking state, you will be able to experience this pure consciousness, for sure. When? Diyaha tushning bhavaha shuddhena bhasyate. Diyaha of the buddhi, of the antakarana. Of the antakarana, tushnim bhavaha. Tushnim bhavaha is when it is still. In the waking state also, whenever the mind and intellect become still. What do you mean whenever the mind and intellect become still? Whenever the mind and the intellect becomes free of vritti. In deep sleep what happens? The antakarana goes to laya in the karana sharira. That is a different kind of stillness. Tamo vibhuta sukharupa meti. That is a different type. Now in the waking state also, there is a possibility, and many times we do experience, it's not always that we are continuously restless and agitated. In the waking state also, so many times we just become still. The mind and intellect become still. Mind and intellect becomes free of vrittis. When sattva becomes more. When tamas in deep sleep, antakarana goes to laya and ajnana alone is there. Then also you experience the Shuddha Bodha. So also in the waking state. But not antakarana has gone to laya, antakarana becomes nirvrittika, free of thoughts. One happens because of tamas, another happens because of sattva. In one, antakarana goes to laya. Laya, it merges. In another, antakarana becomes free of vrittis. At that time too, tushnim bhavaha. At that time, that state of free Nirvrittika antakarana. That state of stillness of the antakarana. Earlier, that state of absence of antakarana. Now, the state of stillness of antakarana. That is different, is it not? In deep sleep, the state of absence of antakarana, where antakarana is merged into ajnana. In waking state, not the absence of antakarana, but the absence of antakarana vritti. The antakarana has become nirvrittika tushnim bhava. When sattva udreka is there, when sattva is more, then what happens? That state shuddhena bhasyate. So in waking state also, you can experience that presence of the pure consciousness, that sakshi, that shuddha bodha, that avabhasakaha, that time also you can experience that. Do you experience? Shankaracharya is asking us. Do you experience? When the mind becomes still, do you experience that pure I? Without any kind of, along with it something? Do you experience that? That is you. Jagare api diyaha tushnim bhavaha shuddhena bhasyate. Shuddhena bhasyate, this avikari chaitanyena bhasyate. This kutastena bhasyate. Sakshina bhasyate. So here also you can experience yourself in your pure state. Alright, that is okay when the di becomes quiet without free of vrittis. But what when the vrittis are there, how do I experience this consciousness? See, self has to be everywhere to be the self. How do I experience that? He says, Di vyaparascha. Di vyaparascha, when the di, buddhi, when antakarana has got its vyapara. Vyapara, when it transacts. When it transacts means what? When it has vrittis. Antakarana transacts through vrittis. A still antakarana has no transaction. But when the antakarana has got vrittis, it transacts with the world. I see you, that's a vritti. I see this, that is a vritti. I am observant of the space here, that is a vritti. Gata patadi, vishaya jnana happens, that is a vritti, that is a vyapara. At that time what happens? Di vyaparascha, all these vrittis. Because when the vritti arises, the consciousness gets reflected in the vritti, is it not? Therefore, chidabhasena samyutaha. When the vrittis are there, naturally the vritti becomes imbued with that chidabhasa, reflection of consciousness. Without vrittis, no reflection of consciousness in the vrittis, because vritti is not there. But when the vritti arises, chidabhasena samyutaha, all the chitta vrittis are imbued with that consciousness. Which consciousness? Reflected consciousness. Chidabhasen samyutaha. And that vritti, which has got that chidabhasa, that tadbhasyaha. Tadbhasyaha, they are illuminated by that pure consciousness. That's what happens in waking state when vrittis are there. When vrittis are not there, pure consciousness per se illumines absence of all vrittis. But when vrittis are there, then what happens? The vrittis, because they are reflecting medium for the consciousness, that vrittis are there, that vrittis are already imbued with that reflected consciousness, because vrittis become the reflecting medium for consciousness. But then what happens to the pure consciousness? The pure consciousness illumines those thoughts which have got that reflected consciousness. The pure consciousness illumines those thoughts which have got that reflected consciousness. And that is how kindly so now you have two consciousness kind of, is it not? Pure consciousness reflected consciousness on the vrittis. And therefore the experience at that time is of this nature. See, pure consciousness illumines. Reflected consciousness also, because it is consciousness, it has also got the power of knowledge. And therefore, what is the experience when vrittis are there? When vrittis are there, that reflected consciousness, because it illumines the vrittis, and that reflected consciousness is jiva. Yes, buddhigata, chidabhasa. And therefore, reflected consciousness knows the vrittis. And therefore, you have the experience, I know. But remember, pure consciousness also is there. And therefore, what is the experience? I know that I know. Vritti is there. On vritti is the reflected consciousness. Reflected consciousness has the power to know. It is jiva. Aham janami. Jiva anubhava. Therefore, a vritti comes. Let us say, I know you. Is it not? So, I know you. So, I know you is now the experience because chidabhasa is there. When vritti is not there, I will not have the experience, I know you. When vritti comes, vyavahara is there. Therefore, what is the experience? I know you. That is chidabhasa telling the object. I know the object. Chidabhasa knows the object, therefore I know you. But chit is also there. And that is how we all have this experience. I know that I know. One is the, if you want to say, one is a capital I. Another is a small I. So I know that I know. And suppose you scold me. This I which knows will feel unhappy. But even then, I know that I am unhappy. So one I becomes unhappy. Another I knows that I am unhappy. But suppose you praise me. Then what will happen? I becomes happy. But what about that I? I know I am happy. But when vrittis are not there, I am. And because I am of the nature of awareness, I am aware. There are no vrittis. Do you see this? How nicely he builds that thought and helps us comprehend the pure consciousness. Divyāpārāscha chidabhāsena samyutaha tadbhāsyaha. What is tat here? Shuddha Chaitanya. The divyāpāra, divrittis, chidabhāsena samyuta, which is associated with reflection of consciousness, meaning jiva. And that's how I know the vritti is there. But then that vritti which is associated with the jiva, therefore I know that whole experience is what? Tadbhasyaha. Tadbhasyaha, chidbhasyaha, bodhabhasyaha. One is the experience of bodhabhasa, another is the experience of bodha, shuddha bodha. Bodhabhasa says, I know. And what is the experience of shuddha bodha? I know that I know. Right. But vrittis also know. Vrittis also know means what? Vritti also takes the form of the object. You see, knowledge is such a ripple effect. Knowledge is such a pervasive experience. Vrittis also know. I know. I know that I know. That vritti, thought also says no. Thought also knows. What is that? Now that he explains in the next verse. Okay, let us read this. Vahni tapta taptam jalam tapa yuktam dehasya tapakam chidbhasyadistada bhasa yuktanyam bhasayet tata vahni taptam gives an example to help us understand. First example he provides. Sometimes what happens, first the thought is given, then example is given. Now sometimes example first, thought next. Now first example. Therefore first pay attention to example, he says. First you comprehend the example, you will be able to understand the idea easily. What is the example? Vahni taptam jalam. Yata vahni taptam jalam. Just as the water which is heated by fire. So fire is there. Fire heats the water. Vahni taptam jalam. Then what happens to that jalam? Tapayuktam. Tapayuktam, it becomes hot. Water is not hot. That is not the nature of water. Water is not hot. By nature, it is not hot. But because of its association with fire, what happens to the water? Water becomes hot. Okay, all right. Then what happens? That water which is hot, which is not essentially hot, but which has become hot, dehasya tapakam. Dehasya tapakam, suppose you touch that water or the water falls on you. What happens to your body? You say scalding. There's a word in English called scalding. It scalds the body. It burns the body. Actually, water is not supposed to do that. But because water, when it is heated by fire, gets the property of that. Gets a property. Gets a property doesn't mean it gets all the property. Fire is effulgent. Fire also is hot. It doesn't get all the property. Water doesn't become effulgent like fire. Fire takes one property. And then what happens? Because that property is now with the water, fire's property is water, then it does something what the fire does. Something what the fire does. What is that? It burns it scalds the body. We can't say burns the body, that's not so nice. It scalds the body. Is it not? If this is clear, now watch. Sankaracharya says, Chidbhasya dihi. The di, which is not chit. It is not supposed to know. Water is not supposed to burn. Same way, Chidbhasya di, the buddhi, which is illumined by chit. Then what happens? Tad bhasa yukta. Now, just as how the water gets that heat in the same way, the buddhi now gets that tad bhasa yukta. Tad bhasa, chit bhasa yukta. Now it has got that illumining nature. Illumining nature. Tad bhasa yukta. Endowed with that, then what happens? Anyam bhasayet tata. Anyam bhasayet rupadi vishayam bhasayet. Shabdasparsha rupa rasagandham bhasayet. Actually, it is inherently incapable of doing this illumination. Water is inherently different from fire. But being associated, what happens to the water? The water gets the capacity to also burn. In the same way, the buddhi, when it is imbued with that reflected consciousness, because it is now touched by that consciousness, that consciousness changes the property of the inert jada buddhi, and the inert jada buddhi gets the ability to also illumine. And getting that property now, which is not inherent to it, which is not natural to it, but borrowing it from that consciousness, tadbhasa yukta, the bhasa yukta, you see dirgha, because it goes with the. Then what happens? Anyam bhasayet. It illumines anyam. Anyam means what? It illumines the rupadi vishaya. Tata means in the same manner. In the same manner as the example we saw of fire and water, in the same manner, just as how the water can scald, not naturally, but being imbued with that heat, in the same way, the thee is now able to illumine the objects. Okay? Now what has happened now? I know the thoughts which are imbued with that jiva, that chidabhasa. Now those thoughts which are imbued with the chidabhasa now do the next knowing. They know the objects. And that is how we have the experience. I know that I know the thoughts knowing you. So much is there. At top level, with respect to consciousness, nirvikara, I know. Then comes one more I know. That I belongs to I know. Now let me construct the sentence. I know that, I know the thoughts. Please see, I know. It's just telling our experience only. I know that I know the thoughts, knowing object. This much has happened. Is this clear? I know, pure chit, that I is chit, bodha. Next, I know that I is bodhabhasa, chidabhasa. What do I know? I know the thoughts. Antakarana vritti. And what are the thoughts doing? Thoughts are knowing the objects. So I know that I know the thought knowing the objects. How does thought know the object? Thought is jada. What do you mean? How does it know? Because thoughts are imbued with reflected consciousness. When consciousness touches, illumines the thoughts become capable of knowing, just as how the fire becomes capable of scalding when it is associated with fire. All this is talking of experience. It's not some kind of intellectual jugglery. It is your experience is putting in words. Okay? So, vahni taptam jalam tapayuktam dehasya tapakam yata vahni taptam jalam tapayuktam dehasya tapakam bhavati tata, in the same manner, chidbhasyadihi chidbhasa yukta anyam bhasayet. It illumines other object. And then what happens? Now, what does consciousness do in all these things? Look, consciousness illumines everything. Now, it doesn't stop with buddhi illumining the objects. There are some other things happening also. See, thought illumines the object, but there are certain other things which go along with illumining the objects. What is that? Because this buddhi is also influenced by by its samskaras, vasanas. And therefore, our experience, if you look at it, it is not just I know that I know the thought knowing objects, but we have the experience of what? It's a likable object, it is a dislikable object. So this is life, is it not? Life is not just I know that thoughts know you. No, life is what? I know that my thought knows there's such a sweet Swamiji. And if I don't like somebody, my experience is I know my thoughts knowing that terrible fellow. This is life. So how do this sweetness and this terribleness come? That he brings now. Let us see. So very, very nice experiential moment of thought you have here. Let's read. Rupado guna doshadi vikalpa buddhigha kriya tah kriya vishayai sardham bhasayanti chitirmata rupa Rupadau in the objects of knowledge, of the vrittis. Rupadau. Vritti is knowing Rupadi, is it not? So Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. In them. In them means what? In those objects of thoughts. Thoughts know the object. How are thoughts knowing the object? Because they have been touched by that consciousness, illumined by the consciousness. And illumined by consciousness, thoughts get the capacity to know. What are they knowing? They are knowing Rupadi. Rupadi, the objects. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Alright. Rupadau, in those objects. Guna doshadi vikalpa. You will find the buddhi is having some cognitions of guna and dosha. Guna doshadi. So guna is goodness, dosha is badness, one may say. It's good, it's not good, it's pleasant, it's unpleasant, samichinam, asamichinam. And what is adi? Udasinata. It's okay. There is another bhava is there. The raga is of bhava, dvesha also is bhava, and it's okay. He's an okay person, you know. He's neither I like him nor hate him. That is also there. It's not always that we are in love and hate modes. We are also, it's okay. Do you like it? It's okay. Do you want tea or coffee? Coffee. But coffee it'll take some time. You have tea? Yeah. Please give. You like tea? It's okay. That is also there our experience. So he says, Rupadau, in all the objects that the vrittis come to know, vrittis cognize, guna doshadi vikalpa. Guna doshadi vikalpa. So guna, dosha and vikalpa. Vikalpa is what? The kalpanam, the imaginations. Actually, object is neither likable, nor dislikable, nor it has got. Object is object. But there are certain imaginations which we color the objects with. So those imaginations, guna doshadi vikalpa, that we experience, is it not? Where is it coming from? Buddhigaha kriya. They are all what is done by the buddhi. Buddhigaha kriyaha. These are all, meaning buddhigaha kriya means what? This is not there actually in the pure consciousness. It is not even there in the reflected consciousness. Actually, where are they? They are there only at the realm of the vrittis. And how are they coming? They are all coming because of the function and the action of the buddhi of the thoughts themselves. The thoughts themselves are causing these kind of superimpositions on the objects which they are perceiving. Of course, we know what causes these kind of superimpositions, our own samskaras. So the buddhi, under the sway of samskaras, have these kind of notions about the objects that they are perceiving. And then we know what happens to our life. We divide the world into 3 compartments. Like, dislike, okay. And then whole life is in this circle. So throughout the buddhi tells, let's go to meet those people, or let's go and have the experience of those objects. Let's go away from this. So this is how we are. Swamiji, Gurudev Swami Chinmaya used to say, very interesting, used to say, the first time when I heard it, I was, wow, that was very wonderful. He said, just open your door and look outside. You'll find people going this side, people going this side. Do you know where they're going? They've got only 2 aims. Get away from what they don't like, and go towards what they like. That's all. Anything else is there? That's how Swamiji used to say it. That's how life is. So I know that the thought knows the object, and thought does not just know the object. Thought knows the object and says, that's nice. That's terrible. That's okay. These are all, where are they coming from? Not from Chit, not from Chidabhasa, not from the object. But these are things which the buddhi is imagining. Buddhikaha kriyaha. But what is this you are telling all these things? You said that we have to differentiate the Chit from the bodha from the bodhabhasa. That's what I am trying to tell you now. He says, what? Taha kriyaha vishayaihi sardham bhasayanti chitihi mataha. Now watch, he says. Chitihi mataha. Chiti consciousness, the bodha, shuddha bodha. The shuddha bodha, the consciousness is understood. Please experience this for yourself, he says. Is understood, is experienced mata. As how? The shuddha bodha is experienced in all these things. How? Taha kriyaha. Which kriya? That it is good, not good, it's so. Taha kriya. Vishayaihi sardham. Along with the objects. So objects are captured by the vrittis. And the vrittis color the objects with likes and dislikes. So the object covered with likes and dislikes, taha kriyaha, and the vrittis are knowing the objects. So the objects, along with the objects, taha kriyaha, raga, dvesha, etc., vishayaihi sardham, along with the rupa, etc., shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, which the vrittis are cognizing. Chitihi, the consciousness, the shuddha bodha, bhasayanti. Bhasayanti is present participle. Bhasayanti, present participle, means what? It is illumining, it continues to illumine. This is how you experience your Shuddha Bodha now. This is how you are experiencing your true nature now. How am I experiencing my true nature? I am experiencing my true nature as I am illumining all the objects which are cognized by the thoughts, and I am illumining the objects that are cognized with the thoughts along with what the thoughts are projected on the objects, likes, dislikes, etc. This is how I experience my Shuddha Bodha. Meaning, illumining this means what? That Raga Dvesha is not part of me. What I illumine, I am not, is it not? And therefore, the Raga Dveshas which are projected by the buddhi on the objects is only at a different level. And since the Raga Dveshas are at a different level, and I only illumine the Raga Dveshas, I am not a Ragi nor a Dvesh. I am not neither a Ragin nor a Dveshin. So just because I like you does not mean I am a person with likes. Just because I dislike an object, it doesn't mean that dislike is part of my nature. Likes, dislikes, all are projected by the thoughts on the objects. I did not project it. Consciousness did not project it. Therefore, I am nirvikara chiti. I am the untouched consciousness. I am pure consciousness. I am Shuddha Bodha. So whatever happens at the realm of the reflected is not touching the... Whatever is happening at the level of the illumined is not touching the illuminator. That I am. I am that pure consciousness, and that is how I experience myself, even when this whole tamasha, even when the whole game, even when the whole experience of life's likes and dislikes and the resultant ups and downs are happening. When what I like comes to me, I am up. When what I dislike comes to me, I am down. All these things Shuddha Bodha only illumines. And I am that Shuddha Bodha illumining. So even in the midst of all the vyavahara, please know yourself this way. Ragadveshas at the level of thoughts, colored on the objects. Thoughts capturing the objects. Ragadveshas coloring the objects thereafter. Consciousness, reflected consciousness, is observing those thoughts. And reflected consciousness, being at the level of the buddhi, gets affected by this. Because it is the level of the buddhi. That is jiva, the karta, the bhokta. So who is bhokta there? The reflected consciousness becomes the bhokta. Bhokta of what? Bhokta of the superimpositions of the thoughts on the objects. It becomes the bhokta. Who am I? I am the Shuddha Bodha, illumining the bhokta, which is connected with the buddhi. Which buddhi is perceiving the objects? Which buddhi is coloring the objects with raga dvesha? But all those things are happening perfectly okay. The bhokta is suffering perfectly okay. But the point is what? I am the one which is illumining all these. Nothing has happened to me in the midst of all these ups and downs, which are caused by the buddhi. Nahyasya vidya manaso tirikta manohya vidya bhavabandha hetuhu. The whole thing is there in the mind only. I am just the pure consciousness illumining all these things which are happening. Please see yourself that way. All right. Now, going to the next verse. Once you have distinctly seen yourself as a Shuddha Bodha, let us read the verse, then we will. Rupacha guna doshabhyam vivikta kevala chitihi saivanuvartate rupa rasadinam vikalpane. Rupacha guna doshabhyam rasadinam vikalpane. Each and every vikalpa, each and every cognition, you will find the presence of consciousness if you are able to thus understand the consciousness. If you don't pay attention to the consciousness, you will not see the consciousness. But first what you do, you differentiate this pure consciousness from everything. Do that first. And then you will see the overarching presence of consciousness in every thought. That's what he says now. Rupacha, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the Vishayas. Nothing more than this is Vishaya. Suvai Oli, there is a beautiful Tamil Tirukkural. Suvai Oli Uru Osai Natram. Ivai Aindin Vagai Therivan Katte Ulagu. Those who know Tamil, what is world? World is nothing this. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. This is all world. Nothing more than this is the world. So all these objects of perception and their combinations. Say, I take this. Now there is Sparsha, there is Rupa, now there is Rasa. Now, some of them, Gandha may be there, may not be there. Of course, this water has a sweet fragrance. So, the object which is there, Rupacha, Rupat, Panchami, Rupacha, Guna Dosha Bhyam. So, Rupa, the world of object is there, and on the world of objects the buddhi has colored guna and dosha, likes and dislikes. From all these things, vivikta kevala chitihi. If you are able to differentiate the pure consciousness from all these, why he is saying if you are able to differentiate? Usually our mind is there in that object and the raga dvesha. Very rarely we are able to take our mind out of it. So, with a very alert awareness, if you can see this pure consciousness distinct from all these humdrum of life, distinct from these engrossing things of the mind, distinct from all these routine things, nothing more is there. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Guna, Dosha, that's all is there. What more is there? Nothing more is there more than this. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha coated with Guna, Dosha. This much is what is called as life. But this is not actual life. If you can differentiate the Kevala Chiti, that untouched consciousness, that Shuddha Bodha. If you can do that. Are you doing that? Shankaracharya is saying, are you doing that? This pure consciousness you are observing, you watch now. Sayeva anuvartate rupa rasadinam vikalpane. Sayeva anuvartate means what? That only comes as a single thread without change. Everything else changes. That's why that is Atma you. Sayeva anuvartate kevala chitihi eva anuvartate. Anuvartate means what? Now Shabda experience is there, goes. Rasa experience comes, goes. Rupa experience comes, goes. Etc. I see this, then afterwards I see this, then afterwards I look there, then afterwards I hear some sound. Changes, changes. Everything changes. One by one it keeps on changing. But then what? Anuvartate. What anuvartate means? What keeps continuing without a break. Anuchitti dharma, as Upanishad says. What is that? Sayeva anuvartate. Only that comes. Nothing else comes. Raga changes, dvesha comes. Guna, dosha, udasina, everything changes, keeps on changing. Sayeva anuvartate. Rupa rasadinam vikalpane. In the various cognitions of rupa, rasa, gandha, shabda sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, vikalpane in the cognitions. In the cognitions of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, along with their painting of Guna, Dosha and Udasina, they keep changing. What comes? What travels continuously without a change? Sayeva. Sayeva, you alone. That Shuddha Bodha alone. Okay. This is how you see yourself. This is me, not the scene. Now you please see, I know. I think that's okay. Why unnecessarily we should see all those things? This is clear? Then that should be fine. No, Swamiji, what you want to say, please tell, at least that. Okay. I know that I know the thought knowing that terrible fellow. Okay? Now because of that, there is one eye which gets disturbed. Which is that eye? The second eye. The small eye. Our Gurudev used to say like this, in order to explain, he would say, the big eye, the small eye. The big eye is Shuddha Bodha. The small eye is that Chidabhasa. That gets disturbed. Why? Terrible fellow, the thought is seeing, and this Chidabhasa is in the thought, and being the thought, affected by the thought, he becomes disturbed, because thought is disturbed. When the water is what you call, not heated water example, when the water is shaking, then the reflection which is in the water, what happens to that? That is also shaking. Okay? Now, next thought changes. I know that I know. Actually, that I know, and that second I know becomes it's affected knowership. I know that I know, and I'm very happy that now such a lovely person has come to meet me. Now joy. The mind it was like this because of seeing the other fellow. Now it has become calm. Then what happens to the Chidabhasa, the Bodhabhasa? The Bodhabhasa is very happy. Affected knowership. Vikara, savikara, jnatritvam. But in and through both these experience, what has not changed? The first I know has not changed. And that I know is actually, therefore, since in order to tell that it is not an affected knower, in English we change the word. We say, I illumine. See, now it will be much better. I illumine that I know that the thought is experiencing, cognizing that very happy object. That object which gives me a lot of happiness. And then the object which gives me a lot of sadness. But in and through what anuvartate, I illumine anuvartate. Everything else changes. Even the Chidabhasa changes, Bodhabhasa changes. Why? It gets affected, therefore it is changing. But what has not changed? The fact of I illumine has not changed. Sayeva anuvartate. That is me. Very, very, very experiential teaching. Beauty of Laghu Vakya Vritti. Moment to moment, he will help us see ourselves. That's a beauty. Sayeva anuvartate. Sayeva, that avadharana he has given. That alone, know that to be yourself. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next session. I think next session I may require extra 15 minutes. Huh? Next session is evening 7 to 8 p.m. Today evening, 7 to 8 p.m. Here only we will have. We conclude. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.